Oh, a random. Never mind. Although they started as spot deterrents, random events have become quite the welcome sight amongst Runescape's players. But not all are created equally. Some give pretty nice rewards, whilst others honestly are still just nuisances. But it doesn't have to be like that. What if all random events were worth doing? The first step towards making random events better happened all the way back in 2014, when Jagex made the random events ignorable, and the dismiss option was added just a week later. And then nothing happened for 8 years, until Jagex decided that it was time to actually update the random events, when they decided to add the stale baguette to the sandwich lady's drop table. This made an event that was always just dismissed actually worth doing, which I guess inspired Jagex to actually update the random events a bit more, since half a year later we got the update where you got XP lamps as rewards after finishing the event outfits. And they even added a new random event in form of count check. These updates have been nice, but it's still the case that about half the random events are just not worth doing. So, what do I have to do to actually update all the events? Let us start by clarifying which random events are already good enough. The Genie and the Dunce random events are the obvious examples. Who can say no to some free rune crafting or Herblore XP? And to this classic duo we can now add count check. And with the update on costume randoms, we can also add the following: Beekeeper, Sergeant Damien, Freaky Forester, Kiss the Frog, Leo, and the Mime. Jagex also decided to add XP lamps to the drop tables of the Prison Pete random event and the Quizmaster's mystery box. These already had pretty solid drop tables, so they were already worth doing. And the same can be said about the Maze random, so I think we could put that on the board too. And there's only 2 more events that I think are actually good enough to stay as they are. Dr. Jekyll is the most interesting random event in my opinion, and the potions can be generally game changing, especially for early game Iron Man. And the strange fruit you can get from the strange plant is just curing poison if you have it, and giving you free run energy. That's just nice. These are then all the events that I would keep as is. And if you noticed, most of them are just because they give XP lamps. And honestly, the amount of XP lamps out there is a little bit boring, so I won't be just adding XP lamps to all the events from now on. Next up are the random events that I think just needs a little bit of a tweak. First up is the Bob Fishing Random. This is generally nice for low level accounts to just level up their fishing. The issue I have with it is the magic XP is only rewarded after level 50 magic. At that point 650 magic XP is really not that big of a deal, so if you're doing the event you most likely want to just get the fishing XP anyways. I could see 2 ways of fixing this. Either let you choose whether or not you get magic or fishing XP, or choose what other skill you get the extra XP in. I think either cooking or sailing could make sense. Or all 4, fishing, sailing, cooking and magic, where you get XP in one at random, or even let the player choose. And with that, let's put Evil Bob on the board. Next up is the Sandwich Lady. She went from being one of the worst random events to being one that you generally check out just to see if you perhaps get a baguette. The issue with her is that you still just dismiss her if you don't see that baguette immediately. I do quite like the idea of the Sandwich Lady being an event that you only do in hopes of getting some really rare and cool drop. So it would be nice if there was another rare drop that you can chase in case you don't get the baguette. But what should this drop be? 3 years ago, when debate started around the stale baguette for the Sandwich Lady, I made this post proposing rare drops for all the different random events. And I quite like the drop that I made for the Sandwich Lady, namely that you could get her tray so you could properly complete that Sandwich Lady cosplay, and I added the function that you could add it to the tip jar space in your POH, so that guests could always come pick up a sandwich. You know, maybe there's some other good ideas in here. Let's take a look at the very first one. So the Beekeeper would give you a buildable beehive in your POH. Of course we'd get the same reward from Forestry not long after. So okay, let's just look at the next page. Here the Freaky Forester would give you a 2-handed axe that you would wear over your shoulder, which also got added to Forestry right after. Wait, did Jagex choose my ideas for Forestry rewards? I hadn't really thought about that before making this video. Anyways, I think the other rewards are still pretty cool, but I don't think I'm gonna use them for this video. I'll let Sandwich Lady have her special reward. And with that, I'd put her on the board. Next up is the Pinball and Evil Twin random events. These both drop gems, with the Evil Twin random events dropping uncut gems, and the Pinball events dropping cut gems. These are not bad, but just a bit underwhelming. I think this just need a bit of a rebalance on the drop table, making low level gems give a bit more gems, perhaps introducing some more gems like Topaz and Opal. I think it would even be fine to have a very low drop of getting a Dragonstone from these events. I don't think these events need to do much more to be worth doing, so I'm gonna call it a day and put them on the board. Next up is the Certus, the Mysterious Old Man, Rick Turpentine, and the Pillory God. I've grouped these together because they have pretty much the same drop table, which is quite underwhelming. The only reason you do these is for that small chance of getting half of a crystal pea. Most of these just needs an improved drop table. I think it would be quite nice to theme these around the characters, so the mysterious old man could give rune drops, perhaps some essence or some talisman. Perhaps Rick Turpentine could give some ranged equipment, since he's wielding a crossbow. He could give things like bolts, arrows, perhaps some fletching supplies. And with that, it would make sense to make the pillory guard the melee guy, allowing him to give perhaps some simple steel equipment and some smithing supplies like bars and oars. And with that, I think we can put the 3 on the board. Next up is the Certus, which I couldn't really find a solid theme for a drop table for, but back in Classic they did serve as the closest thing the game had to a bank, with them being able to note and unnote items. So I think it would be cool to make them become more of a utility random event, with them being able to note or unnote some of your items, and let you deposit some of your items into your bank, just like the Gravedigger can do. It might be nice to just have something that can make your resource gathering, skilling trips go a little further before you have to bank. One could even go so far as to make them just access the bank for you, although I think that might be going a little bit too far, but it is an idea. And with that, I think we can also put the Certus on the board. So far I've talked about the good events, the ones that needed a bit of tweaking, and the ones that were just a bit too bland, but now we get into the 2 just horrible events, the ones that just serve no purpose in the game. First up is Captain Arnav. He has a solid 50% chance of giving you either a gold ring or gold necklace, both of which is just useless. He can also give you 125 coins, which is low by random event standards. And lastly, he can drop a gold bar, an item that's somehow worth less than even the items before. But at least the gold bar has some niche Iron Man use, but still too niche to actually be, well, interesting. For Captain Arnav, I think we have to go in a new direction. And, well, since he is out there looking for treasure, how about he gives a reward that's actually related to looking for treasure? So I propose that he just gives you a clue scroll. Of course, for free to play he would just give out beginner clues, but he could give higher level clues at a rarer rate for members. This would turn one of the most useless random events into one of the most useful ones, and I think that would be quite good for him, without it actually being completely unbalanced. So onto the board he goes. That leaves just one random event left, the one so bad that it inspired me to do this video, the Drunken Dwarf. He gives you 1 kebab, which is somehow both inconsistent and mediocre food at the same time, and he gives you a beer which only heals 1 HP and just about debuffs you as much as it buffs you. And the thing is, I think fixing this random event is so straightforward and obvious that I'm surprised that it hasn't been done yet. The game has so many different and interesting beers, he could just give you one of them at random, with a small chance of making it the matured variety. This would make the event more interesting, more varied, give better rewards, and it would help highlight all the different beers, which is currently not getting the love that they probably should get in the game. I really think this small change would make the Drunken Dwarf go from one of my least favorite random events to one of my favorites. So with that change, I think we can smack it on the board, and with that, we've covered all the random events. Do you think these changes are necessary? No, of course not. Random events are not exactly a big part of the game, but I really think it would make the game feel just that little bit more whole, that little bit more interesting. And I think it's these small changes over a long period of time that has made RuneScape such a good game. And with that, I don't have anything more to add, so all there is left to say is thank you for listening to me yap, and have a good day.